Good evening and welcome to the Dracut Connection. Today is August 18th and we're coming to you live from DATV Studios. I'm Brian Bond and I'm joined by my co-host,
Gordy Scott.
Our other co-host, Bill Morin. Last night he had a Dracut Water Supply District meeting that went late into the evening. They recessed and they're scheduled to take that meeting on at 5:30 tonight, so they've been in that meeting for an hour and a half. And I'm sure they're talking about a water issue that Dracut's currently facing.
Yeah, the manganese issue.
The manganese issue, and we're going to discuss that shortly. If the meeting gets out and Bill has time, he's going to shoot over here, Commissioner Morin, we should say,
Yeah.
and fill us in what's going on there. We also have Johnny Joyce, who's a candidate for Dracut Selectman 2017. He's been making the circuit.
Yeah.
He's due here tonight also. And
That's it.
that's it. What else is going on?
Well, personally, my son got his senior pictures taken last night, preparing for his senior school season. In next month, I guess they start up, and then he went to go play basketball over at the Campbell School, and someone rammed into his car. So now we've got that issue to deal with. But
Well, it's funny, not funny, but sort of kind of funny.
no one was hurt, so that's good.
My daughter drives one of my cars,
Yeah.
brand new Subaru, and she was backing out of her car, her spot at work, and another person backing out of their spot, and they bumped into each other. So I've got some rear end damage on one of my cars too.
Oh boy,
So nobody's hurt. It happens.
that's why we have insurance, Brian.
Right. That's why we pay the insurance bill. So
how was any hiking, Brian, this past weekend?
as you know, this past weekend down here, I think it was 90 degrees. It was really
Yeah.
hot and muggy.
Yep.
Well, I was up in Pittsburgh, New Hampshire, which a lot of you folks that snowmobile, they know what Pittsburgh, New Hampshire is. For them,
Did you find one of those big moose head?
well, we'll get into that. But for the folks that snowmobile, Pittsburgh, New Hampshire, to them is God's country, and it just goes for miles and miles. There's a ton of logging roads and abandoned logging roads and snowmobile trails and ATV trails. But we had rented a cabin up on Back Lake, right inside that area of Pittsburgh, and so we arrived Friday night. Saturday morning, we get up nice and early. It's downpouring. It's in the 60s.
Wow.
So we loaded up with our rain gear and we climbed a mountain called Mount Pisgah, and it's a bushwhack. It's again, bushwhack, folks, is a trailless climb, or it could be a hike anywhere, but there's no trails. You use your map, compass, GPS. Lots of fun. Found 3 moose antlers, but smaller ones. They weren't that big, and we found some moose bones. Then the following day, Sunday, we went and climbed another bushwhack. What is that? West Magalloway, I'm sorry. West Magalloway, another bushwhack. Found 1 moose antler that day. Brought that one home just because I had to, but it was small. But 2 great days. Again, it was raining that day, but 2 rainy days hiking is better than sitting on the couch.
Eating bonbons and
Eating
watching
bonbons in the air conditioning, when it was 90 degrees down here. And Sunday it was 70 degrees. So we had a good time. And we'll be going back shortly.
That's good.
What did you do this past weekend?
Well, we had our annual block party
Oh, yeah, that's
at Joseph F., so it was pretty good. The weather held out. We thought Saturday we might get some rain, but I think it rained about 10 o'clock, and then I called it a night at 10 o'clock. I said, that's it for me.
Yeah.
But several of the neighbors stayed out. I think they were out till like 2:15 in the morning. So
How many participants?
Wow, there was a lot. Well over 100, I know. And our town selectman, Tammy Justelaris, was there.
Oh, great.
So yeah, I got a chance to speak with her and talk a little bit. I asked her to check in why I'm paying them, $25 a square foot. So we'll see if anything comes of that. But
$25 a square foot on what? You got to
on my
explain to the
land,
folks.
on my land, on my house.
Yeah.
I think I'm the highest per capita in
Per square foot.
Per square foot, yeah.
And there are some folks, and this goes back to the 61A land and the abuse that's been going on for years. And as soon as I get caught up on things, I'm going to really, I've requested this year's, and they should have straightened this out because the Lowell Sun and the Dracut Connection really caught a lot of folks that were cheating on that system. And so I went down under a Freedom of Information request, and I got all this year's applicants and what they were reassessed at. And of course, folks, those that are connected, their tax rates and assessments have not changed, and they're violating the law. But the folks that aren't connected, they're the ones paying the tab, like you.
Yep.
Like you. So, you mentioned Tammy was there. Was there other half there? I hate to say better half.
Yes. Yeah, George was there. We spoke. We spoke about several things. We talked about a little bit about football, and we're talking about the upcoming season for Dracut, Dracut Sports. Hopefully, we have a better season than last year. We were no wins, so we got to stay positive about that. But we'll see what happens.
Did he mention he's also going to do the announcing this year? Because he did that last year.
I think he's going to do. Yeah, I think he's going to do the play-by-play.
Play-by-play.
Yeah. So he's looking forward to that, I think.
Any other public figures show up at your?
Geez, I don't remember. I don't think so. I think that was it.
That was it.
But I was, that was nice.
And did you say how many people were there roughly?
About 100, I would
100?
say. Yeah.
That's good. That's a good
Yeah.
take.
Yeah.
You ought to.
Brian wasn't invited.
Well, you knew I was away. You ought to invite the town manager next time.
Yeah,
and
maybe
a couple
he'll
of the
come.
other selectmen
He might come.
or board
Maybe
members in the town.
the skateboard park staff, they might come.
All right, so our first item, if you follow our Facebook page, I put up the agenda of what we're kind of talk about here. Johnny Joyce is on his way in. He's stuck in traffic, I imagine.
Yeah.
And he'll be here. But we want to talk about the Dracut Water Supply District and the problem with the water. What's going on with that?
Well, as we had in our last show, Bill came in and talked about the manganese problem that we're having in the water. It was just slightly, I think it was 1 part per million or 2 parts per million over the EPA recommendations. So I think they shut down the well. And as far as I know, I don't know if they've reopened that well or not. I don't know if you have any information on it.
Well, the information, and I'm taking the stuff from the Lowell Sun, folks, and back in, it was recommended that back in May, it was 0.3 milligrams per liter of water. And there was complaints that they didn't inform the public.
Right.
And then after the district tested the water again in July, it found that the levels had risen to 0.41. And at that time, the DEP instructed them to notify the folks, and they sent out the pamphlets and all that. But a lot of people knew about this. And as Bill had said on the show, he sees that as not a major problem. He sees the fluoride in the water as a bigger problem.
Right.
And so I imagine, as I stated before, the Dracut Water Supply District met last night, and they continued that meeting, and they're probably still going on right now. But it came to the Board of Selectmen, and you had a couple folks over there grandstanding, specifically Selectman Joe Duraco and Selectman Jesse Fortier, questioning why the Water District needed the DEP's instructions to mail notices to customers. Well, these folks knew about that well before the time. They should have been notifying the folks too. I had conversations with them, reach out and have collaborative discussions. I think there was just a little grandstanding going on, in my own personal opinion, by those folks. And I don't know if it was a payback, payback Joe and payback Jesse. What say you?
Well, we had it on this show a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we notified the folks. Bill was sitting here, notified people.
Yeah, right, exactly.
The notices went out.
Yep.
So that's.
But according to Bill, it's not. I mean, the only way it'll affect you is if it's over long periods of time. We're talking 10, 20, 30 years. So if you drink this water for a few days or for a few weeks or for a few months, it shouldn't have any adverse effects.
Right. But, so we definitely want to get Bill back on here to talk about that, and hopefully he walks in and we can go forward with that. I also want to discuss, my next item on the agenda is the assessment of other town departments. I don't know if you saw, we talked about it on the show previously about the police department assessment and how that came out. And then last week we talked about the fire department assessment. And our sources tell us that the reviews came back in a positive light. And not everything was really, really good, but I'm going to say I'd give it a decent A. From what I understand, the assessment came back. Are there small issues over there? Sure, but nothing really. So kudos to the fire department. This has been given to the Board of Selectmen over a week ago. And during the Selectmen's meeting, and I happened to catch part of this segment because I was on the treadmill watching it. And the manager would like to move forward with other assessments of other departments in town. But again, Joe Dracut and Jesse Forcier are trying to put the squeeze to that, trying to slow that down. They don't want those departments to be assessed because they haven't even had a chance to really read the full assessment of the fire department yet. So I personally think that they're looking to protect people in other departments. My own personal opinion, they're looking to protect people. A lot of these departments are not really run well, and I'm going to have to go right to the assessors department because we've seen what the 61A farmland problems were. Properties were not being assessed properly. These farms, if you're farming the property and you've got over 5 acres of land, you definitely deserve that tax break, and you've got to sell the product and make so much money. But some folks were getting the assessment, and their land was totally wooded lot, and they weren't using it to farm trees. They were using it as a tax break, and they were getting the benefit. Then you have other farmers that are actually farming the land that have multiple houses on the property, and what the law is that you cannot, that house and that house lot have to be cut out of that parcel, and you're not supposed to get that tax benefit on that house. Well, there was a farmer in town, a local farmer, a very famous guy, who was, I think one of his properties last year was assessed at 140, and then his other house was assessed at like 90. And, where if that was you or I, those would be $260,000, $300,000 assessments on that. And he's getting a huge tax break, and
people want to know why we don't have money for the schools.
Right.
There you go.
Right. And so when the new assessment came out, that situation didn't adjust very much, and he's still getting that same benefit. Again, I'm going to do a lot of research on that when I catch up with life in general, and hopefully bring some stuff forward. And I see that, and I imagine, and I look at all the other departments, and there's people on those departments that are hard workers and good workers, and then you've got the people that are just dead weight, and they're there just collecting a paycheck, and they're friends with this person and they're friends with that person. And we need to assess these people, find out where the dead weight is, fix it, not eliminate them or get rid of them, but we need to fix the problems to make the town more productive and more cost effective. A perfect example why the override failed.
Yeah.
I was a no guy, and even though I seen the need for it, and I agree with all the needs were, they never looked at what the existing situations were and where they were wasting money and where they could save money. And that's why I was a no person. And this is just a continuation of why, not doing these assessments, of why there will never be an override passed in Dracut, because the good old boys are protecting their friends. I know I'm talking a little bit too much.
No, but back to the police assessment. As I told you to start the show, is my son got in that little fender bender yesterday, and I do have to give kudos to the police department because my son and the boy that hit my son's car are both 17 years old, so they really don't know what the process is, what happens when you get in an accident. They're like, what do we do? So I called the Dracut Police Department. I reported the accident. An officer was in there within about 8 or 10 minutes. He was very professional, asked what happened. I don't have the officer's name, but I would have given him an A+ because the way he handled the situation. I told him, I said, these boys are, first time they've gotten in an accident, and he was very patient. He took a lot of time and explained to them what to do, and
Cool.
I know I've heard after the fact that that police officer lives in my neighborhood on Roosevelt, but who I don't know his name, but he was unbelievable. Really,
Good.
He was
Good. Well, I mean, that's the whole idea, you know. And I think the assessment, I think all the folks in the police department, they're all great guys. It's just that some of them don't get along with each other, you know, and they've got little
Infighting,
tits for
right?
tats.
Yeah.
And that's why I like the idea of this interim police chief stepping in that's really not part of the community and trying to get everybody back together on one team. That's why I like that. And I like all the guys that were more than qualified. You know, we probably got a half a dozen guys qualified to take that chief's position.
Right.
And, you know, I grew up with a lot of them. I know a lot of them. They're hard workers. They're smart guys. But I like the idea of an intern coming in from the outside trying to fix things,
Right.
you know. I also, when we talk about assessments, so, you know, the manager, you know, we could do an assessment on the town hall. We could do assessment on the DPW. You've got Council on Aging. You've got, of course, the school.
Right, they're doing.
And that's where I asked you to take a look. Did you find out any information
I
about
did.
what's going on with that?
I did. So a couple, I believe back in May, the superintendent brought in front of the school committee an RFP, and they usually don't do that because that's RFPs like for whatever is not brought in front of the school committee normally. They just go out and do those kinds of things. But this one specifically is because the school committee asked the superintendent as a matter of action to say, hey, we want this to be done to become more transparent to the town and so people can see how we're performing. So they went out and asked the superintendent to basically do a department review for the school. So a few meetings back, he basically said the RFP has been completed. They sent it out for bids, basically. And
Was it an RFP, request for proposal, or was it an RFQ,
RFP, according to the documentation.
request for
proposal.
qualifications?
Correct.
You know, which I'm not a fan of the qualifications, because then they can cherry pick.
And how many people are actually qualified?
Right, you know, and sometimes you're picking somebody that's qualified that you know is going to go in a certain direction, which I don't like.
And I assume they've done multiple schools before. You know, they've probably done Chelmsford. It's the same. You know, I'm sure there's not a lot of organizations out there that review schools. So the areas of focus, they wanted to focus on are human resources within the school, financial operations, transportation, facilities management, information technology, and food service.
Because food service was something that we talked about
Yes.
endlessly during
And
the tax override.
The last meeting, I forget the person's name that runs the food service.
McGuire,
McGuire came
good friend of Warren Shaw's, cohorts,
and that was approved.
Good old boys.
He had some bids that came in, and everything was approved, so that went right through 4 to nothing. But the goal, I think, the goal of the school department review is to increase and improve the transparency of the school system. You know, because the people have said the school doesn't spend the money the right way. So this is trying to, I think what they're trying to do is,
You know what it is? I see the need for the schools, and I'd love to see the schools improved, okay? There are some folks in town, I don't know what it is. It's like a jealousy thing. You know, they don't want to give the schools money. There's certain people in certain positions that don't want to give the kids anything.
right.
They hate kids. So
Well,
it's
they
the only
don't
thing
want
I
their
can think of.
taxes to go up either. I mean,
Well,
that's a big thing.
You know, they're always questioning the schools. There's a trust issue between the town side and the school side.
Yep.
Major trust issue.
Well, my questions though on this whole review, Brian, and all these reviews they're doing, I think in theory it's a good thing, but when the town says, hey, we have no money, these things I'm assuming are not free. If you're putting an RFP and RFQ out for services, you know, review services for all the departments in the town, it can't be cheap.
Right.
So how much are I don't even know what we're spending on these reviews by these different
No, but
companies.
I think the reviews in the end will save you money. You know, I'm not a guy who looks at tomorrow to make up money. I'm a guy who's looking 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. I'm a guy that's in it for the long haul. It's like
But if
it's
I
like
told
savings.
you, yeah, if I told you that review was $100,000, is it worth it?
If you
Is
told
it
me that they were going to
250,000?
spend, if they were going to spend $100,000, but they were going to save equivalent to a lot more than that over a period of time, then I would say yes, spend the $100,000.
So my question is then, could they come up with some kind of
And I want to let you know it's not going to be $100,000.
well, I don't know, whatever it is.
You don't
But,
scare the people.
I mean, if it's $5,000 or whatever it is.
I bet it's you're looking at. I think was it 25,000 or 35,000 to do
But
it.
couldn't you? I mean, as an option, that $25,000 or $30,000 could be used elsewhere, right?
Yeah, like we pay a former selectman's health insurance that costs. What's health insurance plan cost for a family? Like
Yeah,
20 grand.
20,000, yeah.
So if we can throw that at somebody who shouldn't have that every year, then we could do that to run an assessment. And during that assessment, we'll probably save that 10 times over.
Well, I'm just looking at it from like, for my company, if we said, hey, we need to look at X, we need to look at Y within the company, they would put a team together that within the like within my company, and we would look at it.
Right.
We'd get a cross-functional team from different departments. So that's my idea, is why don't they just get people, ask for volunteers from the town. Maybe they don't get them, but at least ask for them and say, Brian Bond, would you like to be on the school committee to
Here's
review?
the problem. You've got this group of people. That's like asking the Democrats. Okay, that's like asking Hillary Clinton to investigate her own emails.
Right.
You know what I mean? Please.
Right.
Gordy, I know you're new at this stuff. But I think you're beginning to learn. And you're going to go and you're going to review the show and you're going to say, did I really say that?
Yeah.
Let them govern themselves.
No, but have like people from the community, like
Yeah, it's the same people all the time.
But like, for example, if you remember, probably a year back or maybe a year and a half back, when the school's asking for money because of technology.
Yep.
So Ann Vandal, they put out in every selectmen's meeting, there was like 4 in a row, that they have a proposal out there for an IT. They're going to create an information technology committee for the town.
Right.
I applied. I never heard anything back.
Why should you? Isn't that your profession?
Exactly.
You're an expert in that field.
Right. And then they ended
you
up not
weren't-
doing anything with it.
You were
so.
not one of the good old boys, and that's why.
So.
In fact, you weren't even on the Dracut Connection then.
Right,
If
exactly.
you were to apply now, you would never ever be considered.
But I mean, it's just simple things like that. People that, I'm sure there are people out in the community that know human resources, that know information technology, all these areas, transportation. Ask people to come in and say, hey, can you take a look? You've done this for X number of years. Can you come in and take a look at our system? Can you spend some time? And I'm sure you'll get volunteers. And I think that if I did the IT one, I could get people. I know people within Dracut that do IT, and I think I could get them to volunteer, and we can. We could look at this stuff, and I just think it's.
I just want you to know, I did get a text from somebody that said, Gordy is so naive.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But
I'm just saying, I think there's people out there that really care about Dracut, care about the community, that would go up and do that.
yeah.
But like you said, maybe they don't want that. So.
But that's why the reason why the town is in such bad shape is because that's what they've done over the years. They've self-assessed. And when you self-assess and you're taking care of your friends, you're getting your friends jobs, kind of like the Clinton Foundation, how all these people that are donating money have automatic access to whatever they want. It's the same thing in Dracut. Don't kid yourselves, folks. It is,
Right.
But
and when you have the finance, and I have nothing against Ann Vandal, I think she's a very smart person. But when you have your
she's probably going to be the next manager. They're really pushing.
She might be.
They're pushing. You watch, folks. They're pushing Duggan out. That group that's in charge is pushing Duggan out, and they're going to. Ann Vandal will be the next town manager.
And nothing against her, but
No.
how is she running the finance committee and she's running the information technology for the town? Maybe she's really good at it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think they need to do something different there. That's
Right.
just because I know a lot about that stuff. So I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how that happens, but.
Yeah. Well, hopefully our signal is going out uninterrupted tonight, because sometimes there's gremlins in the equipment out there that where our volume isn't always heard, or we're cut off. And I think it's, I'm always thinking conspiracy theory that the good old boy network is trying to get us. But
that's an update on the school department review. I think that's what it's for. So.
okay. All right. I want to show this video. We're gonna kind of put that to bed, And I want to show this video, and this will kind of give us a quick intro to the to our next segment. And when you're ready, you can put this up on the screen, and I'll start it. All right, folks. So I hate to make light of the situation, but Selectman Forcier at the Selectmen's meeting the other night started joking about his golf cart and getting stuck in the mud. And you know, they all had a little laugh about it, even the manager, which I'm a little disappointed at. And I really like the manager, but I didn't like the fact that they were making light of the fact that Selectman Forcier violated and broke bylaws that he overseen as a chairman of the planning board, and now as a selectman. And with what's going on for you folks that don't know, but if you follow Facebook, there's a Facebook page called the Real Dracut Forum, and I had come back from a long weekend hiking. And I saw that there was a post up on the forum where Selectman Forcier got stuck in the mud with his golf cart. And so I found that pretty amusing, you know. And he had posted on Facebook, and he was stuck. He wanted somebody to come out and help him, and there was messages back and forth. Finally, somebody came out and helped him, and then the question came up about where he was stuck. And he lives over in what's called, you know, that farm gate area off of Parker Road. And that is actually a development. When I was the chairman of the planning board back in 2007, I approved that subdivision. So I was very familiar with it, and I was familiar with the open space. And also familiar with some other facts with that development, because that development almost didn't go through because there was a endangered species in that area. And that endangered species is a spotted turtle. And the idea of turning that into an open space subdivision, and when the subdivision, an open space subdivision is the builder comes in and he says, hey, I can make these lots, our bylaws call for 1 acre lots. But if you're gonna take a certain portion of land, and that's good land, and set it aside, you're allowed to build on half-acre lots. And so you've got to show that. Now that the land, that open space that gets put aside, gets a conservation restriction put upon it. And that conservation restriction allows anybody in the town to walk on that land, and you've got to give access to that property. It does not allow driving of ATVs or any type of recreational vehicle on that property. It's only footpath. And so I saw somebody was standing up for Jesse on that, because I questioned where this land was and who owned this land. And he said that the residents of Cart Path Homeowners Association owns the land. That's totally incorrect, folks. They govern the land, they oversee it so that, you know, it's deeded to them, but all residents of Dracut are allowed to walk on that land. What you're not allowed to do is take a golf cart on that land and drive it through areas.
Get stuck in the mud.
Right, get stuck in the mud. There's endangered species out there, and they're on the endangered species list, And if you go to the websites there, folks, it's a major problem. You cannot be on that land with recreational vehicles. I went down to take a look at the subdivision plan also, and just to take a look and make sure I was at the right space. All this open space over here is that land. There's power lines that run through that space there. And not only, so if you could bring up my Facebook, my laptop here again too. I'm going to show you the sign that the, get this up. That's our Facebook page, folks. So not only check out our Facebook page, but don't forget to like it to stay connected. So here's a picture they have at the entrance to this space, the folks that live in this development. It says, no trespassing, no hiking, no hunting or motorized vehicles per Farm Gate Homeowners Association. Jesse Forcier is a member of that. He's a planning board chairman, previous chairman, who overseen open space developments, who sat and approved open space developments, but he actually took his vehicle, drove it into the space, got it stuck, allows other people to go out there and do these things. And
then had to be pulled out, right?
Needed to be pulled out. So other ATV people came down there and pulled him out of there. And then he goes on the, and you got to watch the rerun. He goes on at the selectmen meeting and he starts making light of it about loaning out his golf cart, and getting stuck in the mud. And him and the other selectmen have a big laugh about it. And so basically, folks, the laws are only made for certain people. And, Jesse is a puppet of Warren Shaw, and Warren Shaw has taught him well that, when you're in charge, you do what you want and you get away with what you want. And, it's pretty disgusting. That's my rant. I actually called up Laurie Cahill also and questioned. She's the Conservation Commissioner, and questioned the use of ATVs and on open space land and conservation land. And she had told me that she actually was just in a meeting with the police department regarding recreational vehicles riding out on the power lines and stuff like that. I hope they start enforcing it. I'd like to see a public apology from Mr. Forcier, maybe at the Open Space Committee, because I'm sure the folks in the Open Space Committee would not be happy if they know what was going on out there. And, the next open space subdivision meeting at the planning board.
Is there a fine, Brian, for that? Do you know?
There should be.
Yeah.
There should be some type of, restitution or donation put towards, preserving open space or preserving the habitats of the spotted turtle,
Right.
endangered species.
Right.
But maybe at the next planning board meeting where there's an open space subdivision, I'm going to ask during public input if we can ride motor vehicles out there. Endangered species. Now that subdivision would have never got approved without that open space being put aside for the spotted turtles, because it came right from the state that area was a problem. So,
Like you said, Brian, some people can do certain things and some others can't.
right. We're going to take a brief intermission, and then we'll come back. We're going to talk about UMass Lowell. We're going to talk about the town manager, economic development, and we're going to talk about Bill's World, which is Bill's World is things going on in the world, the Trump-Clinton election, things
Yes,
like that.
yeah.
So we'll run a brief intermission. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
And we're out. You got plans?
You bet. $50 million Americans struggle with hunger, but we can do something about it.
Excuse me.
What's going on?
Dinner. Please join me in helping put food on their tables. Together, we can feed America.
You guys keep going. I'm gonna get the plates.
Wait.
Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/hunger.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him opening his own clothing store at the age of 18? 1 in 138,000. Excited to be a part of pop culture, he packed for the big city. The odds of finding someone to invest in his vision? 1 in 4.5 million. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
Hey, welcome back to the show, folks. Before we move on to our next subject, we made the column again. Or I should say I made the column again.
You did, yeah, I saw that.
You know, we talked about this this scenario where we've called out Jesse. That says Facebook has been muckraking in Dracut and appeared to have covered a filthy scandal. You know, Jesse says, I was just out there with my kids goofing around on a family drive and got stuck. Several people riding motorcycles on the land, which is deeded to the residents of Farmgate, helped the newest selectman out of his predicament. But the spirit inquiry is underway on the Real Dracut Forum Facebook page, led by former planning board chairman Brian Bond. Was it legal for Jesse Forcier to drive his golf cart on this particular piece of land where he became stuck? What does that say about leadership? Someone's going to get to the bottom of it, and I guess it's the Dracut Connection, because you won't hear anything about this on Saturday Morning Lives. You know, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to hear anything about it on the fake Dracut Forum, you know, where it's just a one-sided Dracut Forum. Just not going to happen. Also, the next subject I want to talk about is the town manager reaching out to you, Lowell, inviting you, Lowell, to come to Dracut, and that got a lot of talk on
it did.
On the internet.
A lot of negative talk from the Dracut people that I saw on Facebook.
What do you say about it? What are the people saying on Facebook?
Well, the people don't want it. They want to keep their open space, the farmland community, you know, keep Dracut the way it is. They don't want it to change. And, you know, obviously we've got a balance, right? We need more money for the town. We need the economic development, and we want to keep this open space kind of farmland community. So it's a tough balance.
But I don't think they're looking to take farm space.
Well, I think what they should be doing is putting, they could
UMass Lowell?
They could easily put some housing out there for some of the college students.
Yeah.
I don't see any problem with that. But
yeah. I look at this, and I guess I'm in the minority again, but I look at this as a positive thing for Dracut.
Right.
Are we going to get a tax revenue out of it? Probably not. But they're not going to take a ton of land. We don't get any tax money out of all the connected people in town anyway. Right. So what the hell's the difference? And what good are they doing for our town, but other than taking care of them, for their friends and themselves? But what we can then advertise is like, hey, listen, we've got a prestigious college anchored in town.
It's growing.
That uses our town as a place to house their college students, or uses our facilities to whether it's a classroom or it's something. That is a feather in the cap of Dracut. I personally think that'll help attract more people to Dracut. Right. And I listened to the whiner on Saturday morning whining, and he's always whining about UMass Lowell expanding, how they're hurting Dracut. That's so bull crap. That's bull. They help Dracut. That place is a positive influence with Dracut. He says, oh, they stop people from coming over the bridge to visit it. That's bull.
I think actually more people, I like a restaurant, I don't know if we can say it on the air, but
yeah.
Brothers 2, I go all the time, and there's the hockey team from UMass Lowell is always there. So I know they're spending a lot of money in that facility, and probably stuff they wouldn't get if UMass Lowell wasn't next door, because the kids are going to go somewhere downtown Lowell. So I think it's a good thing. I think the more expansion they do, the more business it brings. From an economic standpoint, it's a great thing for Dracut. If you don't want growth, and you want to stay the way you are, I guess it's not very good. But I think we're in a point, Brian, is we need more police officers. No one can deny that. We need more firefighters. No one can deny that. I think the school needs some more money. I don't think you even disagree with that.
No, I see the need, and I've said this. I saw the need for the override. The problem I had was I saw the abuse of the existing system by a certain group, led by a certain individual that has sucked off this town for 20 to 30 years. And until he is out of politics and out of this whole grip, things in Dracut will not change. And it's a kind of a, he's got his little puppet strings on all these people taking care of what's going on. And then he's got all his friends who've got cushy jobs. And one hand takes care of the other hand. They all got cushions going out the door. And they're all well taken care of. And that's why we're in the trouble we're in.
But I think we're, like exactly how you put it, we're in trouble. So I think we need to do something. And I give the town manager a lot of credit. He needs to do something. I mean, this is his job, is to bring in tax revenue for the town, and this is one way to do it. And I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's that bad of a thing, especially if it's just housing, because you're going to bring in tax revenue for the housing, and it's really not going to change the landscape of the the town much.
If you noticed, if you've been on Broadway Road,
Yep.
the assisted living program housing is going up.
Yeah, I see the walls are starting to come up. And
That looks pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It looks really nice.
Yeah, it does.
It looks like there must be elevator shafts that are being put up right now, erected. That's a positive thing. Kudos to Mr. Duggan for getting that here.
Yeah, it's great.
There are folks that are going to try to force him out, and his review is coming up right now.
Yeah, I'm really interested in his review.
And I'm curious on what's going to happen with that review. I really think they should try to sign him for more years. If they don't, they're foolish. If they don't, then they've got somebody that they want to slide in. I mentioned it earlier, so that they can control things a little bit better. Because I look at the manager as
He's not a yes man.
No, he's a new sheriff in town.
Yeah.
And he's shaking things up.
Yep.
And
I don't agree with everything he does.
Right.
But I think
especially
overall
laughing at the golf cart getting stuck in the mud on conservation land.
But I think overall,
killing spotted
do you agree
turtles.
do you think he's doing a good
I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Again, so he's brought that in, and yeah, he gave a tax benefit going in, and I'm okay with that, because again, I'm not looking at tomorrow. I'm looking at 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road. I'm a long-term guy. That's why if somebody really ticks me off, I'm not worried about getting you tomorrow or the next day or the next day or the next day. Maybe on that 750th day you're going to mess up. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to report it. So another economic development thing that's going on, there's a new gas station that's going to be put further down on Broadway Road, kind of right after Brox's quarry.
good. That's one thing
farm
we
stand.
need. We need another gas station because we don't have many.
Yeah, especially down there. I think it'll be a good business for down there.
Oh, yeah.
There's a restaurant going in. I haven't heard exactly what that restaurant is. I'm hoping it's not another pizza joint bar, because I think Dracut's got too many of those.
Yeah.
Although they're always busy.
They did put, I think it was 4 new alcohol licenses, liquor licenses.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, and I think I don't know if it was specifically written in the bylaw or whatever they passed, that it had to be a restaurant. It couldn't just be a bar by itself. So it had to be related to a restaurant or some kind of food.
What are they going to
establishment.
serve? Pretzels?
Yeah.
They
No, but
better
I
not.
mean, he's, like I said, he's doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I know.
There's some people that don't like it, though. They don't want Dracut to change. They want it farmland. They want it,
Well,
so.
it's not that they don't want Dracut to change. They don't want anybody else getting a piece of the pie.
Oh, well,
because
this could be it.
the more business that comes in, that's competition for their business, and they might have to step up their business.
How about a breakfast place? How about 4 new breakfast places?
Whatever. But, I remember something that somebody had told me, that at the assisted living program, and I don't know what it is, but I heard there's something that's going to go in that area or around that area that is going to be a big impact and help things out. So something's coming there that's going to be pretty cool. That's all the information I got, but it's going to be good stuff.
And it's just
For Dracut.
I don't know what the traffic's going to be like. I think that the traffic might be
And
a
it's
little
gonna
crazy over
it's
there.
going to
but-
be another feather in the cap of the manager
Yep.
for getting this in.
I mean, but you got to, that's what I said. You got to, this stuff hasn't happened before he got here. Think about it. We haven't had all these businesses come in and,
Yep.
you know, all these new things come through. So you got to give it to him. I mean, as far as that goes, I take off my hat to him because he's done a good job.
Right. Another thing that we just saw was the Top Donut
Yep.
coming right in this area somewhere, and I haven't figured out exactly where it is yet. But it's
Heavenly
supposed to be-
Donuts came in. We've got, you
Yeah.
know,
So I think that's great news for down here. A little competition. I'm a Top Donut guy. When you go on City Life, you go on City Life, right?
Yeah.
You're the new coordinator there.
Yeah.
You got to get a hold of John McDonough and start setting up some people. But whenever I go to see John on Friday mornings, I always stop and get my coffee there, and I get a dozen donuts to bring over to John. John likes the coconut-covered cream-filled donut.
that's what he likes, huh?
So you got to get him one of those. You kind of sweeten him up a little bit. So when he's not paying attention, you throw a couple jabs at a few people, and he doesn't get so upset if he's eating his donut, you know. But so what else? What else do we got? An opportunity, folks, is the Richardson Dairy. The
What's happening with that? I haven't heard anything about that.
The actual ice cream stand. That's a great location for a business to go in.
Right.
It's an opportunity for somebody to buy that parcel.
Bond
and-
Electric or
No. Whether it's a nice restaurant goes in there, or some commercial development, And when I say commercial development, I don't mean industrial building on a main thoroughway. We need some buildings and properties that look nice in Dracut. Let's step it up, folks. We want the developers to step it up. I think Gene Dock Credit Union, that property looks nice.
Yeah.
Right on Bridge Street, that other, that's the Gene Dock, right?
Right.
And then, so something like that is a nice development that I
that
would
would
like
be
to see
nice.
continue on a main thoroughfare, Speaking of housing, Dracut Housing Authority, the Richardson property, is that thing dying a slow death?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything
know?
about. I haven't heard anything about. What's the latest with that?
What's the latest with it? It's been sitting idle since I left the housing
Right. So
authority.
are they doing? What are they doing with that?
They're
land?
trying to get things done, but they just don't know how to get anything done. They have trouble getting things done.
And the old town hall. We've got that property and Spring.
That annex building there. That something could be done with that. Whether you try to purchase that annex building, maybe the building out front, the family house next to it, you buy that whole little block up, put a nice complex in there. You got to think big picture, folks. You can't be
Right.
You can't be thinking little. You got to think future and development.
Casino? Any word
No,
on?
I'm not interested in the casino. I think that's, personally, I wouldn't want to see that type of development in Dracut. I think you bring in other things that you probably don't want with that,
Well, if they don't want UMass Lowell, they're definitely not going to want a casino.
right? Maybe UMass Lowell, instead of taxes, maybe they could buy us a fire truck here and there,
Right. There you go.
Or they could, a couple police cruisers.
Right. Or hire a couple police officers.
Yeah,
Right.
fund.
Right.
Maybe they
And to them, that's probably a drop in the bucket.
well, yeah, maybe their patrol, UMass patrol.
Sure, yeah. Could
assist.
assist. Right.
Yeah.
Dracut.
And I don't know how far their roles go in the city of Lowell, but when they're out there, it's visibility,
Right.
and they could shadow into Dracut a little,
Right.
Anything else you want to discuss?
I think that's it. Then we've got the national elections.
National elections.
Mr. Trump has put his foot in his mouth about 5 or 6 times. Mr. Zimini, I'm sure, I would be interested to see what Mr. Zimini has to say about our man Trump. Right now, he's in trouble. I think the latest polls, he's down like by 11 to 13 points.
Well,
So,
have you been watching the polls?
yeah.
They've got a new guy that's running the show. He doesn't care what the polls say. The polls are fixed. And whose polls? Did you see that? He says, whose polls?
Right.
Hillary used to call it a right-wing conspiracy theory. I think that the media has been attacking Trump big time. They are so nervous about Trump, And I think they are tweaking the polls. I don't trust the polls either. I think Trump is in better shape than what they're saying.
Hillary's thing just came up now. I think it was today. The State Department released a report that said that she lied in front of Congress because she wasn't truthful, and then the whole thing with the Clinton Foundation is found that she abused her power with the Clinton Foundation. So I don't know what's going to happen there either. So it's going to be interesting. I think she's going to lose some points when all this stuff flushes out. So we still got another couple months here before the debates, and then we'll see what happens.
Here's my take on that. Everybody that's with the Clintons is going to be with the Clintons. Everybody that's with the Trumps is going to be with the Trumps.
It's the people in between.
It's the people in between, and
it's the bonds out there.
yeah. I mean, I most likely will vote for Trump. I was, in the beginning, I was okay with Jeb Bush. I was okay with Rubio. A few other folks there. They didn't make it. I'm more of a conservative than I am a liberal. So I'll be supporting Donald Trump. The folks that are going for the Green Party, they're basically giving their vote to Hillary.
Jill Stein.
It's, in the end, though, the problem I see is, and it's kind of like, it reminds me of Dracut.
At a larger scale, right?
In a larger scale, because there are more takers than makers.
Yep, exactly.
That vote.
Well put.
That vote.
Yep.
There are more takers in Dracut than makers. The makers don't vote. They don't pay attention.
Yep.
You're part of the system. You get out and vote. Okay, so the Democratic Party, they're big with the unions, right? It's a strong base. They take care of the unions. They take care of the folks that are on welfare, any type of governmental assistance. All those people are going to be voting for Hillary Clinton because they want that to continue. And so it's going to be tough for Trump to win.
I think it will be too, but I think when the debates come and they go head to head, I think we'll see Trump pick it up a little bit.
Hey, Ron, I just got a text message that the gremlins are at it again. The picture is frozen. And this person's live streaming. I think it's Mr. Ziminy.
I called him out and he didn't answer.
Hey, folks, I was talking with Ziminy a few weeks ago, and I said, John, how you doing up there or down there? When you coming by? He's like an hour away or an hour and 20 minutes away. And he said, and I probably shouldn't repeat this on the air because I'm probably going to get him in trouble.
Then now you should.
Is that he might move back to Dracut.
Oh, wow.
And that's a story that
broke here on Dracut Connection.
So the folks that know Mr. Ziminy, call him up, tell him you need him back here in Dracut. You need him to keep an eye on things and help out. If he comes back, the question is, will he get involved again?
Yeah, I'll be his campaign manager.
There you go. So, Mr. Ziminy, if you're watching, if you're live streaming, why don't you call up and tell the folks how you're moving back to Dracut.
Answer that rumor.
And tell us how the things are in your hometown of Abington right now and how things are. Gordy, summer sports? What's going on with Dracut Recreation?
Things are kind of in a lull right now. We'll be starting back up in September. We're going to have, for the basketball program, we're going to have some a 2-week basketball clinic. I think we're going to charge we keep it as low as we can. We get volunteers come in. It's great. It's like $25 or something like that for 2 weeks. And if nothing else,
and what's that $25 go to?
It goes to the boys basketball program. So it helps us pay for referees, for gym time, buy new uniforms, basketballs, things like. It's for the expenses that we have.
Yeah.
Throughout the year, and it's all volunteers. I'm down there helping the kids. The coaches come down there. So if your kid,
When you say down there, where's it going to be?
it's going to be at the Dracut High School.
At the high school indoor?
Yep, indoor. So we'll either there or we'll do the junior high. And then for those kids that are 3rd, 4th grade that haven't played travel basketball before, it kind of gives you a flavor because all the coaches are there that coach travel basketball. So it gives them
Are they scouting?
well, a little bit of that, but it gives you, and a lot of kids that haven't played basketball before, it's great for them because they learn a lot.
Yep.
And kind of gives them a flavor for what travel basketball is. We push them a little bit hard, so we get them in good shape. And then right after that, we have the basketball tryouts. So end of September is basketball tryouts, and then we start practicing right in October.
What about the rec board? What else are you guys getting involved in?
We've been on hiatus for the last few months. I think we start up again in September. September 8th, I think, is our next meeting. So we really haven't had a lot on the agenda the past,
Do you
few
get
months.
involved with the Pop Warner football or anything like that?
No, they're not part of the recreation board. But
And why aren't they?
I don't know. I think some of the people on the board feel we're already too large, so they don't want to have any more
Here's
people.
here's my rub, because I've had this rub. I sat on the board with the baseball board. I was involved with football and basketball, all that stuff. Very involved, much like you, with recreation. And I always said that Pop Warner should have a seat on the Dracut Recreational Board.
I agree with
And
you.
soccer should have a seat on the board.
I agree.
Because they're Dracut kids. They might not be. It might not be a Dracut program, but it's Dracut kids, and they're
Keeping them off
involved
the
with all the fields.
Yep.
And they should have a say on the committee. And it's one of my biggest pet peeves about Dracut recreation. And, it just drives me bananas. Why is Dracut Pop Warner such the redheaded stepchild that nobody loves?
Right. And I think, with all the movies that have come out lately, like Concussion and things talking about, brain damage and stuff, I think a lot of kids aren't playing football anymore. And I'm just afraid this year at the high school level that it's going to be another repeat season. I hope not. Hope that I'm wrong, but
Are they what about the fees? That's probably a problem. The amount of money that they're
yeah,
charging these kids.
and that's one of the
So,
places.
so your kid is going to get charged to play recreational sports while there's a former selectman in town that's collecting health insurance because he was a part-time selectman.
Right.
Go figure.
And that's one of the disagreements I have with the town managers. He's charging the Pop Warner people, the soccer people, and our travel program was a separate entity we had. So we had rec, the kids that didn't make the travel team, so it was open to everybody in the town, and then the travel was for the elite kids that wanted to play basketball. So we were separate. Last year we had to come under the town because we couldn't
Hey,
afford
Gordy,
to play. So
we're out of time. And so I'm going to ask you again, because you do such a good job of
Sure.
closing the show. And don't forget to advertise our Facebook page.
yeah, so people out there watching, we always appreciate you watching. When you come here, you're going to get both sides of the story. We're always open to new ideas, and make sure you stay connected on our Facebook site. It's the Dracut Connection, and make sure you stay tuned. Every other Thursday, we're live here at Dracut Access TV, and as always, stay connected.